What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Tonight on the show, we will talk about Von Miller revealing what the Cowboys' offer was to him during the offseason and confirming that the free agency story of Von Miller and the Dallas Cowboys was actually 100% legit. Now, we've heard about that for a long time now, mainly from Slater, who always kills it covering the Dallas Cowboys. But Von Miller gave us the numbers, and they tell us a lot about how the Cowboys approach things in free agency when they could have gotten one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. So we'll dive into that tonight on the show. Towards the end of it, we will also put out a poll in the comments section trying to get an idea as to if you could sign only one free agent, who would it be? So we'll get that conversation going as well on this Thursday night here on Primetime as we get ready to close things out for the Primetime week, because this is the final show for Primetime this week. What is up? Do me a favor, hit the like button, share the stream. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime and keep those likes coming in. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for choosing to listen to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime, as you guys do every night at 8 p.m. Central. Let me shout out some people here. Toxic Tom, bragging about the Orioles sweeping the Rangers. Hashtag World Series bound. Charlene Evans, what is up? Bruce got these. Says, I see that we're doing the Von Miller dance again. Catboy already botched it. We know. But hey, the numbers are interesting, Bruce, and we're going to dive into it. What is up, Ted? What is up, Kylie? Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. He says, long time no see. I haven't been around. I'm still a Cowboys Nation fan. What is up, Kylie? Thank you for tuning in tonight. Let's see, Toxic Tom. Mo, can you make a list of what our front office does and doesn't do well, please? Maybe we'll do that towards the end of the show just for fun. But hey, make sure you remind me, because I am prone to forget. But anyways, now that more of us are here, let's dive into tonight's show and let's, start this officially. Here we go. What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. For a lot more Cowboys content, make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. We've got daily new Cowboys articles up in there, including one on the Von Miller situation. So make sure you check that one out. But yeah, tonight on the show, that's what we'll talk about. The Dallas Cowboys offered Von Miller the exact same contract that they did Randy Gregory. And this was actually admitted by Von Miller himself in an interview with Dan Pompei from The Athletic. And it's a pretty interesting article, and it really tells you how badly the Cowboys handled the entire situation. And we will kind of break it down tonight on the show, because there are a lot of interesting takeaways from this story. And I do recommend you, first and foremost, after you're done listening to Primetime tonight, go and give that a read if you subscribe to The Athletic, because that was a very well put together piece from Dan Pompei. And, Von Miller has always been an interesting man in the NFL. So definitely worth the time. If you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go check that one out. Pretty interesting, in-depth story. And it really provides some detail as to the decision-making process for Von Miller from a personal standpoint. Usually, as football fans, we kind of get the idea that players are out there just looking for the highest number, which is not necessarily the case. And just by reading Von Miller's quotes on this exact article, you kind of get the feeling that he's a guy that works with his feelings a lot and that makes decisions based on his own emotions a lot of the time. Now, as the important part for the Dallas Cowboys is the fact that Von Miller said that he would have taken less to go to Dallas because it's Dallas. That's the exact quote from Von Miller. But I wouldn't have taken that much less, said Von Miller via The Athletic. And the thing is that, according to Von Miller in this article, the Cowboys offered him the exact same deal that they did to Randy Gregory. Now, think about that for a moment. That was a 5-year deal for $70 million dollars. That would average out at that would have averaged $14 million per year. And in guaranteed money, Von Miller would have gotten 2 years of guaranteed money. And in the article, Dan Pompey describes that Von Miller said that the one deciding factor maybe between the Buffalo Bills offer and the Los Angeles Rams offer was the fact that the Bills were willing to guarantee Von's money up to 3 years. So that's what he got in that 6-year, $120 million contract, which averages 20 per year. Von Miller got $51 million in guaranteed money, which is pretty much 3 years worth of guaranteed money. The Rams didn't offer that. And even though Von Miller loved LA, even though he wanted to come back to the Rams, even though he wanted to work one more season with Sean McVay, OBJ, so on and so on, assuming that OBJ, of course, heads back to LA as well, Von Miller decided not to, because the Rams would only commit 2 years of guaranteed money. The Bills went up to 3, and that was one of the deciding factors for a player that might not have that much left in his career. So, the commitment was definitely important. And in the article, Von Miller also, talks about his son and how being in Dallas would have allowed him to be closer to his family, which is one of his priorities at this stage of his life. And the Cowboys went ahead and even though they knew that he would be willing to take less, they only offered him 5 years, $70 million. Now, the problem that I get out of this, and before I move on to that, let me throw out the question in the comments section, both for you guys in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. Was this a fair or unfair offer for Von Miller? The 5-year, $70 million contract that would average $14 million per year with only 2 years of guaranteed money. Was that a fair offer, or was that an unfair offer? Let me see what your take is in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat, because a lot of people will not agree on Von Miller. We've got Daniel Stephens here, for example, on Facebook. Shout out to Daniel. He says, good thing we didn't get him. So even though we're talking about Von Miller here, 2-time Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP, not everyone would be on board with signing Von Miller, right? If it would have happened at the moment it did. So here you go. Here come your answers. Let's see. Craig says unfair over at Facebook. Robert says fair because he's old. Gregory with the unfair. Lumen fair. Tommy says fair considering his age. Toxic Tom, it's a VS lazy offer. Sugar Daddy says very fair. Mark Andrew with the fair. Tom as well. So as you can see, a lot of fairs on this question here tonight. That's called plagiarism in college, Mo. LOL, says Toxic Tom. They could have raised the offer a little bit, but it was fair, says Tommy. Here's the thing, and I get the age concerns, but I will go with unfair, because how can you, as the Cowboys front office, sit down with Von Miller or, send him the offer via email or however the heck it was actually presented to Von Miller? How can you send him an offer and present it to him that tells him, we think you are the exact same player as Randy Gregory? I don't think I don't think that makes sense. Like, imagine that you're Von Miller and you hear that you're getting the same offer as Randy Gregory did. Now, I think that Randy Gregory played pretty well for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys messed up the whole contract thing with Randy. I think it was on them. And I think that this team will actually miss Gregory in the 2022 NFL season. But even with the age factor and all of that, it isn't like Randy Gregory was a second-year player that had a lot of upside left in tank. And I like Randy Gregory. But, he was drafted in 2015, and you're offering the exact same deal that you did Randy Gregory to the guy that knows how to win Super Bowls, to the guy that has been able to pressure quarterbacks at a very high rate in a consistent basis for multiple years. And that also, provides a lot of experience to your locker room, even though that usually tends to be an overblown storyline for many teams. I don't think that makes sense, getting him the same deal that they offered Randy. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. So I would go with unfair looking at it from that perspective. That's why I would go with unfair. Because we can talk about age and we can talk about upside all we want, but Von Miller deserves more money than Randy Gregory does, based on where they are in their careers and what they have done. So based on both, projection and on history, Von Miller is definitely worth more than that. And if you're going to offer a number, an average value per year that's clearly below market value, because this is not what edge rushers go for these days, at least not the very best. Remember that, the top guys are getting over $25 million per year. If you're going to go that much below the market value, how are you only going to guarantee the guy 2 years? Like, there is something that has to be your selling point. And this offer has absolutely no selling point other than the idea that we are the Dallas Cowboys, when in reality, that doesn't mean much anymore, right? Unless you're talking about jersey sales or things like that. It's not like you're offering him, come get a ring with us, like the Buffalo Bills are, for example, because they are among the favorites to actually win the damn thing this season. So I know that we kind of already knew that the Cowboys would have lowballed Von Miller, but man, offering him the exact same deal that they did Randy Gregory kind of paints a bleak picture for the front office right there. I was impressed actually by the fact that they offered him those exact numbers. And what's even worse is that according to Von Miller, and this might not necessarily be true, but that Von Miller said that he would have taken less to be in Dallas. And that opportunity presents itself to you, and you don't make the most out of it, or you don't attempt to make the most out of it. Let's see. Thomas says, Mo, do you think 5 years, $90 million with $45 million in guarantees would have worked? 5 years, $9 million, 45. Oh, man. I don't know about that one, but maybe. Because it does sound like for Von Miller, a big selling point was how much you were going to guarantee him. And Buffalo did guarantee 51.4, which would be about 3 years of guaranteed money. It might have, Tommy. It might have. I wouldn't rule that out, honestly. We want to win the cheap way, says Craig. Toxic Tom says probably offered Vaughn a signed Rowdy photo as a signing bonus. And now the thing is that as pessimistic as we usually are as fans, right? Because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, Von Miller just said that. He didn't really mean it. But the reports are there from the moment when it happened. And Jane from NFL Network was on top of this story from beginning to end. And she always said that this one is real. And just A few minutes ago, let me see if I can reach my phone here. A few minutes ago, she tweeted out, and I will read the tweet word for word. She tweeted out the only real free agent pursuit story that was real, period. Reported it then. He wanted to come to Dallas, but Dallas doesn't spend the money on free agents. That was tweeted about an hour ago by Slater from NFL Network. And, she has a lot of credibility. And I think that one sentence is amazing. The only real free agent pursuit story that was real, AKA the Bobby Wagner thing that we like to complain about every single week, was not really real. Among other free agents that, as usual, steer the pot for Cowboys fans every single year. All of that was not real. But what was real? It was Von Miller. And that was the offer to get the guy. 5 years, $70 million. Simply an offer that had no selling points at all. Bruce says, Mo, this just makes me want to roast Stephen Jones all night. It's frustrating. Toxic says, so the only real free agent pursuit, and we messed it up. If that doesn't sum up this franchise, I don't know what does. That's what gets me. That's what gets me, man. The fact that, James Slater is out here reporting it like this one was the real one, and this is how the Cowboys handled it. Man, I agree with Bruce. This makes us want to roast Stephen Jones all night. Let's see. Good evening to Joey Bella. Thank you for tuning in to the show. Samuel says lower taxes. That could have been a selling point, maybe. Do not need him, says Craig. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, Dan Fowler, Sam Williams, Dorrance Armstrong, one of these guys, hopefully they step up and they provide the Cowboys some help at edge rusher. Because we talked about this, not that long ago here on the show. But the Cowboys do need to replace that 15.2% pressure rate that Randy Gregory brought to the table. And based on Dan Fowler's numbers, he has a long way to go to reach that kind of production. So we'll see. But anyways, before we get out of here tonight on the show, let's just talk about a pretty good question that got me thinking for a while this week from Kyle Yeomans, of course, who covers the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Cowboys and does a tremendous job at it. He's been on Skywalker Steele's show. You probably have heard him there as well. But he put out this question on Twitter, and it got Cowboys Nation thinking. He said, if you can sign one veteran free agent to the Cowboys prior to the start of the season, who would it be? And you can pick absolutely anyone who is a free agent at this point. So the question is the same for you guys in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. Which one free agent would you have the Cowboys sign? If you could pick one and only one. And, some of the obvious candidates are linebacker Anthony Barr, who could provide some help at edge rusher, at linebacker. Will Fuller, who would provide a specific role for the Cowboys offense. We know what he brings to the table. Julio Jones, who could do a little bit of everything for the Dallas Cowboys, but still, there are questions about his health. You've got Ndamukong Suh, who could help out the defensive line, a defensive tackle group that really needs the help. If you could sign only one free agent, who would you have the Cowboys sign to the team? Lumen says Julio. And that, I believe, could be a popular answer. Craig says Barr or Ndamukong Suh. Bruce got the use says Barr. Samuel says Will Fuller. So Sam likes Will Fuller here. Eric Fisher says Toxic Tom. Sue says Robert Shook. Barr for Gregory. We've got Sue. Sue is a very popular answer tonight, apparently. I would actually say that he's the most popular so far. Mark Andrew also mentioning him. Robert says Sue would be cheap and he is nasty. He could provide that, and we talked about the Cowboys looking for nastiness in the NFL draft this offseason. Ndamukong Suh could be the perfect complement to those additions. Thomas goes with Julio as well. Peasy goes with Parr. So I would eliminate the wide receivers just for now, because I know that we are concerned about wide receiver. I know that we're not sure about how this unit will fare, especially while Michael Gallup comes back from injury. But just because I would feel confident about this group once Gallup returns, maybe I wouldn't prioritize it that much if I could only pick one. So I'm going to focus on defensive players here. Now, Tommy, I would also love to get JC Treader on the team, but I do know that's out of the question, especially because JC Treader has been out there talking about signing guaranteed deals only, like 100% guaranteed deals only. So I don't know if he will sign or just focus his efforts on the players' union, to be honest, at this point. But focusing on the defense, I will go with Anthony Barr. I would go with Anthony Barr because of the fact that he could provide some help in the pass rush department, but also as an off-ball linebacker. I know that he's been used as a little bit of a hybrid player, and we have heard about the Cowboys originally liking him as a pass rusher. So, yeah, I would go with Anthony Barr. I would agree with Tom here, with Charlie and Evans, and everyone who has, mentioned Barr tonight. I think Sue is a great answer, though, as well. Stopping the run is paramount, says Mark Andrew. It really is, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles on this team, on this division. We talked about that earlier on the week here on Primetime. Samuel says regarding the JC comment, 100% he cray. Hey, he might be, but, he has a good point. He talked about this. I don't know how long ago this happened, but I remember reading about it. He said that in the NBA, where, these deals are common, Deshaun Watson kind of deals in which the money is fully guaranteed, 100%. He mentioned there's no rule for that to be the case in the NBA. In the CBA, you will not find a rule that says contracts are supposed to be 100% guaranteed. It happened because of practice, because players started getting these deals in basketball. So his argument is it will not happen until we start asking for this kind of contracts. Now, it does seem like a tall task for JC Treader because, there are 53 players on an NFL roster. So it's clearly a different quote unquote economy to that you get in professional basketball. But you can appreciate his efforts, maybe. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe someday we do get to that in the NFL. Maybe someday we do get to fully guaranteed contracts for every player. Let's see. Thomas says, is money an issue in this question, Mo? Because if that's the case, none of them are options. In the hypothetical question, good point for Tommy. Good point for Tommy. But no, we're just playing hypotheticals here. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the ADC Sports Dallas Primetime Show on this Thursday night. I hope that you guys have a tremendous weekend. I will be back on Sunday to talk some Cowboys football with you. And hey, little by little, but we just finished another week of July. Well, the first week of July, actually. But what I mean by that is, we're closer to training camp. So we've got 2 more weeks to go without training camp. And then on the 27th, the players will have reported. So more like 2 weeks and a half. We're getting close, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting close. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share the stream. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, Let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Every like puts this show in front of more Cowboys fans, so do us that favor. Thank you guys. Have a fun weekend, and I will see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. Central. Bye-bye.